Hey guys, this is Madolce Madeline. I'm here with a deck profile post Power of the Elements release for August. So tell me what you got there.
I have ABC Pile, so figured I would play something other than Sprite or Tier Elements for the first case tournament post POTE that I went to. And it wound up doing really well. I actually got third overall. I think out of around 64, 65 players was what the final count was. But I decided that I would try to play something that everybody wasn't 100% side decked for. And like I said, kind of worked out pretty well.
Okay, then let's take a look at the list.
Sure, absolutely. Good. So the easiest way to start is your 2 of each, 2A, 2B, 2C, and then your one absolute brick, the Union driver. Two was perfect. I was playing 3B for a while and just wound up seeing too many pieces. And the way I decided that I wanted to build this deck is I actually run technically 5 different engines. So the goal was to try and keep the ratios as even as possible so that in any given hand I could try to see at least 3 of each, or 3 out of the 5 engines. But going into kind of the second engine, tried to play it with 2 Enchantress and 1 Griffin. And then the reason I decided to do 2 Enchantress, this deck absolutely dies to Droll. So I wanted the higher likelihood of opening up the right instead of the Enchantress so that I could at least potentially get to my normal summon and negate before they could really respond with a hand trap. And then 2 Regulus. This is just really good. There were a couple games where I actually opened up both of those 2 games I lost. But anytime that you can actually build the full board, it's like 2 Omni Negates, an Interruption with Dragon Buster plus an IP Masquerena. So it's really, really good. But so that's kind of the next 2 parts. And then the last little engine I was playing is I decided to run 2 Souls and 2 Illusion. I wasn't running this for a while, but what I decided to do was I needed to have an extender that could help me either draw into additional pieces. Just with Sprite and Tier Elements, everybody is playing hand traps like crazy. Like I think every deck profile I see, it's, I'm running 18 hand traps or running 21 hand traps. So after they hand trap the first or second interaction, I wanted something to kind of push through so where I could at least still have some remnants of a board. And then I really decided to do this because of a card I play in the side deck. That it really helped the consistency of this deck going second and the ability to break boards. I was still running a few hand traps, but nothing as insane as some of the other decks. So I ran a pretty basic package, 3 Ash, most generic one, it's the best one. I decided to go with Ghost Mourner instead of Veiler, especially against like the Tier Element boards or against like Sprite or anything like that the first monster that they summon out usually is not a negate. But like Tier Elements summon out the one that searches 1 and it's an interaction, and they're almost always going to fuse with it or try to use the effect to attribute itself to mill 8. So I decided to run this one because it was a little bit better than Veiler for me, just to do that, but also for anything that came up in time. But also not as many deck lists are playing this as a main deck out. So with all the decks running like cross out and everything, I wanted a less likelihood for me to get cross out, so that if this was my one interruption, it had a higher likelihood of going through. Other than that, Crow and Imperm are just really, really good against everything right now, like Splight, Mirror, Despia, Tier Elements. Like this card's really good to hit any card that goes to the graveyard for them. And then even if like Imperm is the only interruption, you let Tier Elements build their entire board, and then even if they summon the window, you just like Imperm the window and then just do your thing and try to break the board. Like the last round that I had was a tier element matchup, and in game one I lost the die roll. No way I play through a window with the hand that I opened, and then wound up opening this as the sixth card. And with this being the sixth card, I was able to break the board. So I like the hand traps. I usually saw one. Anytime I saw two, it was really, really good. Kind of moving into the last little bit of the traps. I did play a couple of floodgates. I played skill drain, summon limit, and any spell. I really didn't want to do three of anything because the last thing I wanted was to see two of the same one. So I decided to run a little bit of variety. Anytime I saw two of these, it was good, and then it also gave me a wide range against a lot of the meta decks that they hit. Not to mention, like, Regulus and ABC Buster being able to play around this card is just absolutely unfair. There was one where a guy was sitting on like a Chimera and like the Dynamorphia that was a 4K. I wasn't going to be able to swing over it, but I finally was able to get to Buster, activate Buster effect, pitch for cost, then tag out the effect so that everything resolved and got rid of their big one, and then I was able to just build it back and swing for game. So that wound up being really, really good. Getting into the spells, I played two triple tactics. This is honestly probably going to go up to a 3-0 for me. Like anytime I saw this card, it didn't matter what effect I resolved. If I saw this card in the game, I won. Every round there was either an Ash, a Droll, it didn't matter, a Crow. I was either able to draw two, or the most popular one I did was to take a card from my opponent's hand, especially if I had stuff that I was able to keep pushing. Like I was able to put back like two Dark Ruler No Mores, a Forbidden Droplet, and then I put back a starter where the Sprite player had like starter and Ronin in hand. So it left him on just Ronin in hand, and he scooped after that. And then the rest of the right package or the Brave Engine, like I said earlier, I like the 3 right adventure and the equip. And then the last cards I played were the field spell lineup. The entire deck revolves around Hanger. Anytime you see Hanger, high probability that you're going to win if it resolves. And then the interaction between the equip off of this, even if you open up the driver now, it's no longer necessarily a brick, because with the souls you can actually just equip like an additional bee to your normal summon, send the Hanger and the bee, and then try to unclog your hand that way by sending 2 more and getting the extra monster. And then I'm sure plenty of people have seen it, but if you open up this card and write and it goes uninterrupted, you wind up with like 6 negates and like 4 cards in hand. This plus the right engine is just completely unfair. Going to the extra deck. Extra deck is pretty standard. Platinum Gadget, IP, Phoenix, Dark, Light, Unicorn. Honestly, I never made Platinum Gadget once in this tournament, but it's there for when you get like super hand trapped. Ending on IP is really good. The rest of these are kind of just utility. Like Crows everywhere, so being able to go Dark, summon back their Crow, go into Unicorn, and deal with a couple extra, and then just immediately link into Access Code like on your first turn, without having to go into any of your big monsters is really good. Appaloosa, Access Code, and Underworld. This card actually helped me break. What did I break? It was the tier element board. So when they get sent by card effect, they all trigger. But with this being a summoning condition, I was able to just link off one of their monsters and then just swing over it, swing over their other one. So I was able to kind of clear that board with just really, really easy, since they don't set up a lot of negates. 2 XYZs, Dweller and Taper. Dweller's insane. I think I had 4 game ones that instead of making the Dragon Buster off of the extension, I just decided to end on this instead of the Buster. And just turn 1 Dweller, shut off so many decks. One of our other buddies was playing it. He actually made top 8 too. He would end on this and like double. He was playing the Shark deck, but he'd end on this and double toed, and it was just there's a reason he made top 8. It's very, very difficult to play through. And then I play 2 of the Dragon Buster. Most people are playing 3 and playing Prosperity. I decided against Prosperity because I really like the Souls engine and really like the talent. So I wanted the option that if I opened up both of them, I could draw 4. This came up. The third one legitimately didn't come up at all, so I'm really happy with that choice. But the choice that I made in the extra deck was I really wanted to play Herald, and I wanted to play the new Super Poly target because in the side I was playing Ultimate Slayer. This was just really, really good. So I played against 1 Sword Soul where I opened this after side, sent this to shuffle back their Baron, and then I was able to go through the Brave engine. And like, so you search Illusion off of this, go through the Brave engine, bounce the other synchro that he had, so it was open board. And then I was able to use the Illusion and go through the entire thing and was able to OTK it, which was really, really nice. I only got to resolve this once this tournament against a Despia player. It was still really good to shuffle back the Mirror Jade and then draw 1, so it just replaces itself. But it wound up being really, really good for me. But so the Slayer and then everything else in the side deck was pretty generic. I played 1 red reboot for back row, triple evenly, triple D barrier. I did play 1 trap trick and 2 mischief of the gnomes. I really wanted to test this out against Sprite. It didn't come up at all. I wound up seeing D barrier in the Sprite matchup and just called XYZ. So he ended on like Elf and like one of the reds and carrots. So it didn't come up. Evenly is an absolute win condition against Tier Element and Despia right now. Like I said, they don't put up a negate. So if you just do this and you out there 1 monster, then they're kind of done. And then the triple Dark Ruler was the last thing in the side. But that's pretty much everything. And so, like I said, there's really nothing I would change too much other than maybe running the 3rd triple tactics. But everything else worked really well for me yesterday. So, thanks, guys.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your deck list with us. How are you feeling about the state of the game post Power of the Elements?
I gotta be honest, a lot of people don't like it. I love it. Like, I'm 100% after this weekend going to play Sprite. And Tier Elements is it is kind of gimmicky with the mills, but it's a really powerful deck and a really fun deck. And I think it's going to be a fun format to see kind of both of those go at each other. I think it'll be fun. But like I said, I'm going over to Sprite after this and going to have a lot of fun with it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. That's been Austin and myself, Madolce Madeline. Thanks again, guys. Have a great day.